Welcome in. It is our very first edition of CISN Inside Scoop. I'm Trent Condon here with you as we're talking some high school sports across central Iowa. Glad to have you aboard with us as we're getting ready for the summer sports season. At least we're hopeful that the summer sports season is going to come our way. Talking today to a couple of coaches from up in Ankeny Centennial, head baseball coach Mark Hay, and on the softball side of things, Brett Delaney. First, Coach Hay, good to see you again, and looking a little bit different. I usually see you with the ball pants on, you got your ball cap. No haircut looking like.
Yeah, I know. I probably should have wore a ball cap, but it's good to be here. Thanks for having us on.
Well, very excited to talk some baseball, talk some softball here. Coach Delaney, good to see you as well. Softball season as we await anticipation. Certainly been an interesting 2 months.
Yeah, it's been an interesting start to the season this year. I can't say I've ever experienced anything quite like it.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that and what you guys have gone through. 67 days for all intents and purposes. Sports were shut down across the United States back on March 13th. And starting with Coach Delaney, you're getting ready for the season. I know you're still months away from it as this is all going on in March with COVID-19 and what we're going through. We'll get into the educational side, but talking strictly about softball and as you're preparing for the season, your schedule set, you're looking forward, you're getting girls in there to get ready for the year. How has it been for you in just preparation for a season that you couldn't anticipate it?
Yeah, it was a pretty good off season. Starting when the winter time hit, and we were just getting ready to leave for spring break, wrapping up our last one, and just told the girls that we were so proud of them coming back from spring break. We were expected to play that first weekend, kind of a spring league type thing, and getting ready that way. And we had a really good off season, and then. Next thing you know, by the end of spring break, we're telling them to shut it down and stay inside and just trying to prep that way. So it was just a really interesting time to try to stay communicated with them and prep them for all that kind of stuff. And then, we're going to play in 2 weeks, and then we're going to play in a month, and then they just kept shutting us down that way. So I'm just trying to communicate with the girls the best we could during that time and then keep that communication going throughout it.
It's been so crazy, and you talked about that a little bit, Coach. Mark, for you guys on the baseball side of things, take us in. I know there's so many different programs out there, and though it might not be involved, a lot of your players playing in different types of leagues, those shut down also during this period. As you're going and talking with your squad about what you're doing in preparation for the season.
Yeah, like Coach Delaney, we had gotten things ramped up pretty good. We were hitting 3 times a week, optional hitting, and we were throwing a couple days a week. We had our pitchers in pretty good shape where they needed to be in March as we were heading into some off-season games. And then they kind of had to do things on their own. And so with facilities closed down, access to equipment. I have to kind of echo Coach Delaney. I'm so impressed with what our players have done on their own and the commitment that they've shown and the positive attitude that they've shown in this time. I know it'd be very easy to feel sorry for yourself, especially if you're a senior and this is your last year and to kind of shut down. But, our kids have just embraced it really and tried to improve even in this very difficult time.
Well, as social distancing has become a big part of our lexicon, another piece of this, Coach Delaney, I want to talk to you about is what you've been able to do. Obviously, you can't get the girls together. You can't go through workouts like that, but you can send them things to work on, even individually. Maybe mom or dad at home can help them out, playing some catch, doing some drills, things like that. Did you come up with an official game plan? Did you send out workout sheets, things like that? What have you done with your team to get them prepared?
Up until May 4th, we weren't really allowed other than some wellness check-ins with our players. So we would hold some Zooms throughout the time, just trying to keep them connected, trying to stay positive. I'm very fortunate. I have a good group of seniors and juniors this year, and they've really been taking the reins and then kind of keeping the girls together and doing the best they can. But we would have a weekly Zoom meeting where we would have a topic of the conversation, anything other than softball at the time, just to try to get their mind away a little bit. I think one week we did what was your favorite food, or if you could go to a restaurant, what restaurant would you go to? Who would you have dinner at the restaurant type of thing. But then when May 4th hit, my coaching staff and I came up with a plan, and I've come up with a weekly plan for them. We try to keep it as similar as possible. When they get their practice calendar, it looks like a normal practice plan. It starts out with a senior speech that we try to do every year, step by step throughout the time, and just trying to keep it as routine as possible throughout this process is what we have. So yeah, we've come up with that plan that we've gone through. In the meantime, we tried to do some random social media challenges the best we could. I know when that snow hit, we had a snow challenge, and anything that you could do softball related. I think, what was that, March or April? And so you might look out on social media and see Coach Delaney diving for a ball and trying to set up that way. But then the girls got involved, and it was a pretty fun time to try to stay connected via that social media route.
Coach, take us through what you've been going through. You mentioned some of the different things that you sent to the kids, but trying to get them in baseball shape. You mentioned you had the throwing program going here, but such an important aspect, and certainly the depth of pitching that you need in baseball. The circumstances have certainly made it difficult, I'm sure.
Yeah, and every kid's kind of in their own unique situation too with the social distancing. Some have brothers who so they can still play catch like they were a part of a normal practice. Others, have parents who maybe are able to do that. Others have to be more creative, and so we've sent out guidelines to things that we want them to do, and I think we just have to be very aware. Hopefully, in a few weeks, if we open up practice, just have to be very aware that everybody's going to be in a little different state of readiness, as opposed to previous seasons when we could kind of track them and had a feel for where every kid was coming into the official practices.
Well, it's difficult circumstances, no doubt, and everybody's going through it. It doesn't put you behind the eight ball by any means. Coach Delaney, for you, as you look through this and knowing even if you get the thumbs up that things are going to be a go, you're going to get a week, 2 weeks of practice at the very most before the games begin. In that interim, in that time period that you're going to have to get your team ready, what do you think is going to be the most important in those couple weeks leading up?
Just the biggest thing is going to be injury prevention, like Coach High just mentioned. We might have some girls in varying levels. I mean, we've challenged them the best we could and motivated them the best we could to stay in playing shape. But obviously, we know we use those 2 weeks to come back. And typically, a player's somewhat sore those first couple of days. And if we only get a week to practice, we've got to be very cautious of that and make sure that we're looking out for their best interests. And then try to get the team cohesionness. I mean, they've been separated this whole time, and some of them are starting to work out together, but others of them are still social distancing, which is where they're at. And so we just got to bring them back together and follow the guidelines that are going to be set for us, and just do the best we can, but make sure that they're healthy and we're healthy and have an entire season and hopefully make that run to Fort Dodge.
And if there is a season this year, certainly it's going to be much tighter than what we're used to. There's still so many parameters and hurdles in front of us before we get to a summer season. It's going to start with a thumbs up. Certainly from the governor's offense. Mark, I wanted to ask you this. As you look at that and look at what a season can be. If you get the okay, if you get the thumbs up, what you're going to do in terms of your schedule, has there been any conversation with the IML in terms of what a league schedule is going to look like? And with that, because your pitchers probably aren't going to have the same kind of arm ready to go that you normally have. Are you looking to scale back? Are you looking just to build some depth and get as many games as possible? If you do get the thumbs up, what your schedule is going to look like?
Yeah, we've had tremendous people working behind the scenes. I know the CIML has had already come out with a guideline, like if the season would start on the 15th, which I know is one of the possibilities out there. They've already kind of got a schedule in place and what that would look like in terms of playing conference games and how frequently we would play. So I think the schedule would not remain as it might look right now. If you went to our website and looked at our schedule, I think they're going to readjust that to try to reduce the number of games that you would have in a week to try to save on your pitching a little bit as well. I know that the Boys Association said they really don't want to bring the sport back if there has to be modifications to the rules. And so I'm sure the pitching count rules and that would probably stay intact. But I think as coaches, you have to, like we said earlier, be aware of where kids are and where typically we might be able to roll a kid out game one and let him go 70, 80 pitches. We might have to scale that back for some individuals to make sure that we're not, building injury. That's the worst possible thing that could come out, is that we build an injury into a kid.
We're going to take a quick time out here on CISN Inside Scoop. We're going to talk a little bit about both these squads. The Jaguars coming back for the 2020 season, as we are hopeful we're going to get the summer sports season. We'll talk about the Jaguars softball and baseball teams next as we come back on CISN Inside Scoop.
Central Bank opened its doors in 1877 and has been proud to call Iowa home ever since. For more than a century, our family-owned business has worked hand-in-hand with friends and neighbors across the state to make their dreams a reality. Come visit us at our new location on Hickman and Waukee and see how Central Bank can make it happen for you.
Hi, this is Chris from Fireplace Superstore, and it's a great time to start getting your backyard ready for summer. At Fireplace Superstore, we have Iowa's largest selection of outdoor furniture. Poly furniture, wrought iron, aluminum, wicker, also barbecues from Weber, and the best umbrellas to keep you shady. Fire pits to keep your backyard warm. Everything that you need for your summer here in Iowa. Come see us now, Fireplace Superstore, 109th and Douglas in Urbandale.
MidAmerican Energy and you, together partnering to change the energy landscape by pioneering money-saving, energy efficiency programs and building a new industry in Iowa, wind energy, all while keeping your rates low. So what's next? We'll keep delivering cost-effective energy efficiency programs while putting money back in your pocket. That's right. You decide how best to spend your savings. That's a partnership good for you, good for the environment, and good for Iowa. Another way we're obsessively, relentlessly at your service.
Welcome back at CISN Inside Scoop. I'm Trent Condon, joined by the head coaches for the baseball and softball teams, respectively, for Ankeny Centennial. It's Mark High and it is Brett Delaney. Well, guys, as we get ready for the summer, as we keep our fingers crossed and we'll get things started, want to talk about what you anticipate your squads are going to look like. Mark, starting with you on the baseball side of things, lost a host of good seniors from last year's squad. Taking a look at things, you guys made a run all the way to the sub-state finals before falling to Southeast Polk, but just an overview of your squad as we have the season, hopeful we have the season for 2020, what the Jags are going to look like.
I'm really happy with the group that we have back. We have tremendous senior leadership, and Coach Delaney kind of mentioned about that cohesion that we'll have to build, and our seniors have done a great job, I think, of setting that culture. But we've got some really good ones coming back. We got several kids that have committed to colleges that kind of lead us. Ryan Vermeer at catcher is a second-team All-Stater last year, and he's coming back. I could go on and on about players. We have Trey Morris, we have Miles Malizia, we have Dane Churchman, we have Avery Gates, we have Nate Renke. Just a host of players that got a lot of quality innings for us last year, and certainly you mentioned earlier the pitching depth. We're going to need a lot of arms this year to step up and come through for us. And
Avery Gates, I think a lot of people certainly watching remember his exploits from the football field, getting those speed out there on the base pass. 13 steals last year in 13 attempts. You going to unleash him a little bit more this season?
Well, we hope so. Yeah, he and Dylan D'Angelo is also a member of our outfield, and Dylan, I can't remember where he's running track, but I know he's going to run track in colleges at Drake maybe, and he's an outstanding one too.
Well, let's look at your team, Coach Delaney. Tell us a little bit about Ankeny Centennial on the softball side.
Once again, we're going to bring it back to those seniors. We got pretty much a senior infield for me. this year. We lost our entire outfield. We had 10 seniors last year that we graduated, which is a pretty impressive number. We're bringing back 6 seniors this year. We're led by our shortstop, Franny Burnett, and our third baseman and first baseman, Taylor Runchi and Kennedy Jones. And then another senior in the circle, Maddie Huseman. So we're very fortunate to have those starters return. Our whole infield plus our catcher and pitcher are back. We do have to replace the whole entire outfield last year, but I think that just is a positive for us because it creates competition day in and day out for our younger kids and for girls that are coming back. And there's just so much talent that's in the lower levels, and that was on our JV last year, that are ready to take those reins and compete for those starting jobs. And it might be something where we're working on lineups day in and day out, but I'm so proud of how they've worked so far this season, and that competition on a daily basis is going to prove strong for us, especially in our postseason run.
Brett, you mentioned the seniors, and both of you have certainly talked about that and that leadership that you're always looking for. A question that popped into my head, and this was weeks ago, and I was talking to a baseball coach that mentioned he had a couple of guys that hadn't gone out for baseball the last couple of years. They were good athletes, probably not going to play at the varsity level at all this season, but if there is a baseball or softball season, that people are going to go out, seniors are going to go out just to maybe put a cap in their high school career. Start with you, Brett. Have you heard of anybody, any of the athletes going through your schools that say, you know what, I know I haven't played lately, but I want to go out just to be able to hang out and play a sport to finish out my high school career?
You know, I personally haven't had any seniors reach out yet, but I'm sure there's some of those out there, and we'd be willing to listen to them and talk to them and get as many people out as we can and give them an opportunity to wear that Jaguar uniform one last time. And I'm sure they'd be accepted. Our girls have worked so hard to create that team bond, but they're more than willing to accept anybody and bring them all in.
Mark, how about you guys? Anybody on the baseball side that says, hey, I want to give baseball a go here. It's my last chance to play a sport. You think of those spring sport athletes that had their seasons taken away because of COVID-19. Anything that you've heard on that side, some guys that are going to go out?
No, I'm like Brett. I haven't heard of anybody, but again, they're always welcome, and I think that sometimes baseball, softball, the nature of the sport, it's very welcoming to players to be a part of, where they don't have to be in the middle of the action all the time. I know last year we had 3 young men that were hurt their entire senior year, but they stayed with the team, went to every practice, went to every game, just so they could be in the dugout, be with the guys and still a part of that team. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if around the state you do have players that want to be a part of something to kind of finish up their high school career.
Mark, with that, I've heard some conversations and just banning about how to get this season in. If the thumbs up comes and June 15th looks to be the target date. Mark, when you look at that, there's been some people say, well, can you push back the season any further? It's so difficult. Do you have those seniors that are getting ready to start college or going out into the workforce, whatever it may be for them? Is there a viable way that you can push back the season at all with the June 15th start date?
I don't think there's probably a way to push back the end. I think August 1st maybe is the date we're scheduled to end on this year. And Principal Park plays a part of that too with baseball. If we are going to play our state tournament at Principal Park, we are kind of at the mercy of the major leagues and the minor leagues and the Iowa Cubs and our ability to use that. And I'm sure the association could decide to hold state tournaments at other fields, but I think you hit on the big part about wanting to end it on August 1st is there are some, Avery Gates is an example for us. He's playing football at Grandview. So at some point, if they're allowing students back on campus to start football practice at that time, he wouldn't be able to be with us for those last few weeks of the season if we did push it back.
Yeah, and the other side of it is colleges, some of them are starting even earlier. I saw Notre Dame is going to be starting their fall semester on August 10th. So, there's going to be schools across the country that are going to go into that, and that's something that's certainly going to trickle down to you guys at the high school level. With the summer sports season, it is different. It's different than anybody else does it, certainly on the baseball side and the softball side. Brett, I've heard both the positives and the negatives of playing these seasons during the summertime when school is out. Your thoughts, though, overall, the positives of a summer softball schedule as opposed to playing it in the spring or fall?
You know, the biggest positive is we're unique to the whole United States. We're the only state in the nation that's playing in the summer. There's positives to it and there's negatives to it. The positive is the kids get to kind of end their school season not in school. They're only worried about baseball. They're only worried about softball. And that's their main focus that time. But then there also comes the drawbacks where students don't want to give up their summers. And then would there be any chance to move it to the spring or even the fall like some of the surrounding states do? And I know in the softball realm, we deal with the club situation just a little bit different and have to work with them and around them to make sure things work, and moving it to the earlier in the spring or the fall could be an opportunity. But you know what, we're unique and it's special, and there's nothing more special than making it to Fort Dodge and that atmosphere that is up there and surrounded by those college coaches and those fans, and it just makes it unique to the state. And I would have to probably say it's one of the best state tournaments in the nation because of that atmosphere up there. So keeping it in the summer is probably the way to go, but always open to opportunities.
Mark, Brett mentioned it there, and the college side with the recruiters in the stands when you get to the state softball tournament, when you're there at baseball, that's something that people say is a negative. Now, I maintain with the advent of Perfect Game and just how big those club circuits are, if you're a good player here in the state of Iowa, even play in summer baseball, college recruiters, they're still going to be able to find you.
Oh, absolutely. I don't know of anybody that slipped through the cracks and wound up in the major leagues, right? It's and you kind of touched on Perfect Game and the Sticks program here in Des Moines do a really nice job of promoting those kids, and so the recruiters know where they're at, and I think Brett touched on this. I think the big positive of having the high school season in the summer is that kids can play truly 4 sports in the state of Iowa. The kids that run track can play baseball and not have to worry about making a choice or juggle 2 sports at one time. And then you wind up having, because we play a spring league too, so our kids are playing in the spring. It's just that's the lower priority. The high school season is in the summer, and in a lot of other states in the upper Midwest, that's just flipped. And so their high school season kind of takes a back seat to their Legion ball and what kids are playing in the summer. So I was able to keep high school baseball kind of the main sport for baseball players in the state of Iowa. And I think Perfect Game and Sticks and some of those programs have done a great job of allowing kids to get that promotion through their springtime.
Well, you're talking right now with Mark A., the head coach for the Ankeny Centennial Jaguar baseball squad, and Brett Delaney on the softball side. We're going to take a break, come back, and put a cap on things at CISN Inside Scoop. We're back with more in a moment.
Schottenkirk Chevy Waukee cares. 2020 Silverado 4x4 Crew as low as $399 per month.
Zero down. This is a true sign and drive.
Or get up to $11,500 off or 0% for 84 months. Remember, all pre-owned vehicles come with a 12-month bumper-to-bumper warranty. 2020 Equinox LT, $299 per month.
Zero down. Sign and drive.
Or up to $7,000 off or 0% for 84 months. No payments for 120 days available. Schottenkirk Chevy Waukee. WaukeeChevy.com.
Central Bank opened its doors in 1877 and has been proud to call Iowa home ever since. For more than a century, our family-owned business has worked hand in hand with friends and neighbors across the state to make their dreams a reality. Come visit us at our new location on Hickman and Waukee and see how Central Bank can make it happen for you.
Welcome back one final time at CSI Inside Scoop. I'm Trent Condon, joined by the Ankeny Centennial Summer Sports head coaches. For the baseball side, it's Mark Hay, and on the softball side, Brett Delaney. Well, guys, as we look forward to the season, we continue to talk about it, hopeful that we will get a season this year. I do want to talk about with you guys first a little bit about some of the concerns that linger, some of the things that you look at. There's going to be a lot of parameters that would be put in place if we do have a season. Mark, starting with you, as you look at baseball, hey, you're in a dugout, you're in close proximity, social distances, those kind of things. There's a lot of questions that remain. What are some of the biggest concerns that you see?
I'm sure sunflower seeds will be outlawed, but I think the concerns probably would lie around what happens if someone tests positive with your team, and the protocol around that. Would just that player be isolated? Would the whole team have to self-isolate? Obviously, Brett and I are going to meet tomorrow with our athletic director, and we're going to look at the I think what they say 16-page document the National High School Federation put out today on some guidelines, and we'll look at how we have to meet those. But obviously, we're going to have to isolate players. So practices might be designed different. We might not bring our whole team in at one time. We might bring smaller groups in to try to, keep them apart as much as we can. I've heard having expanded dugouts, so some kids might have to stay outside the dugout, so you don't have quite so many in the dugout. So there's a lot of ways you can try to keep them clean. There's just a lot of issues with, restrooms, or, how often they're clean, concession stands, ticket takers. How do you social isolate in the stands? What do you do with baseballs if a pitcher goes to his mouth and rubs up a baseball and it gets fouled off, and you got little kids chasing it? So there's a lot of those issues, I think, that we have to just kind of work through and think about, and have a plan and protocol in place to keep our kids safe, to keep umpires safe, keep fans safe, if and when we do return.
Brett, over on the softball side, we're talking about very similar sports, certainly, but what jumps out to you as you look, if you do get the okay, some things that would concern you?
Just to find the way to make sure that, first of all, our players are safe and our coaches are safe. I know, for example, at Ankeny Centennial, our dugouts are bricked in, and they're fairly small and restricted. So am I going to have part in there, and do I have to put part in the bullpen, and answering those questions? And then just once the fans are there, or if their fans are going to be allowed there, are they going to be able to social distance and isolate themselves? And then everybody, the support staff that's involved with it, whether we're going on a road trip, and the bus drivers and the ticket takers, and like Coach High said, the concession people, and just trying to make sure everybody is following the protocols and procedures, and just figuring out all that logistics is going to be a fun time for us, but hopefully doable, and hopefully something that we can accomplish, so we can give these student athletes kind of a wrap to the school year that didn't get the opportunity to, our seniors that are going to go on to college, and then those juniors and sophomores and freshmen that are going to continue on at Centennial, but it can kind of wrap that 2019-2020 school year with time on the field together, and figuring out the best way we can. I know there's going to be a lot of hearts broken with no sunflower seeds, but I think if that's the least that we can do to get them on the field, then that's what we'll do.
Yeah, trying to slow down on the guys spitting the seeds all over the field. I certainly understand that, and all over the dugout. Going to be interesting to see that part of it, one of the many hurdles that will be in place. I want to ask both of you guys also, as educators, and that other side of the equation. In a former life, that's what I was. My wife is a teacher in Des Moines, so I've seen what she's been having to deal with during these last 2 months, going through the work side of it, helping out the students and everything that's gone into it. As an educator, taking away the athletic side away, starting with you, Coach Hay, tell us a little bit about that side and how it's been for you over these last couple of months.
Well, I think I speak for every teacher in Centennial that, we do what we do because we love kids, and we want to see them grow and achieve. And obviously at this time, we're worried about their mental health, about how they're taking care of themselves. And so it's been hard. It's been hard to, worry about some of those things that are outside of our control. But there's been a lot of positives at this time too. We have Zoom meetings with our classes. We have Zoom meetings with our teams, and we've had some great kids. Joel Lanning came back and talked to our team. If you know Joel up at Iowa State, and Keaton McKinney and Nick Belzer, who's in the Brewer organization. So it's been great to have some of those kids that used to play for us come back and connect with the kids that are with us now, and to as an educator, to watch your classes have Zoom meetings and the kids still joking with each other and still being kids and enjoying learning. And so it's been a difficult time. I certainly would not ever want to go through it again. But it's something that I know that we can get through. And I've seen really good signs from our students that they're staying positive at this time, and they're staying hopeful for what comes in the future.
Brett, for your side as a PE teacher and being on the health side of things, I see it at home with my little ones and just the screen time that sometimes I can get away from the parents from time to time, just because it's a long 24 hours to get through each and every day. What you've done with your students outside of the athletic side to try to keep them healthy and engaged?
We're still trying to connect with them the best we can, and putting out some assignments for them and holding those weekly Zoom calls and answering questions when needed. And I do have to say, as an 8-9 teacher or a secondary teacher, I have a lot more respect for those elementary teachers, and homeschooling my 3-0 at home. I'm just like, there is a reason I went to the secondary level. But it's been very interesting and kind of challenged me in that sense, is to put myself in those elementary teachers, but just trying to stay connected with them the best we can. And I know we put out different videos on social media via our schools, and our schools are recognizing teachers and the hard work that they're doing. But to be honest, it's the students that why we're here, and we are concerned about their mental health and their mental well-being. And I know some of them truly rely on it and come to school and get those interactions. So just trying to provide any interaction that we can, and practice those social distancing to make sure that they're healthy and they're safe, and they're ready to come back for the school year in August. And just doing the best we can, and then connecting with our teachers and people from around the United States and seeing what they're doing to try to implement around here too is what we've been accomplishing at Centennial.
Well, we will get you guys out on this. We look forward as we continue to talk about the hopefulness that we have for a summer sports season. Starting with you, Coach High, let's talk about across the CIML and across the state in Class 4A. You guys have a chance to make another run as you did a year ago, 28 victories last season. Who are some of the other teams to look out for? It seemingly every single year, in the CIML, it's going to be a bloodbath getting through there. Urbandale's taken home the last 2 championships. Johnston's going to be there, as they are seemingly every single year. Who are some of the other teams you're looking forward to facing, and some of the top teams you expect to see this year in the CIML?
Well, you're pretty much naming our conference. We have Urbandale and Johnston, and Dowling Catholic is going to have an outstanding team this year. The Ankeny Hawks are very, very good. They got some great players. Ames has a new coach, and they're very good. And so there's our 16 conference right there. So, and that could be a state tournament right there. So they, those teams are going to be very good. There's some good teams from the eastern side of the state as well that are going to be very competitive. I think the Iowa City High is going to be a much better team. Iowa City West is always really good over there. Cedar Rapids Kennedy is always very good over there. So it'll be an interesting year, and it kind of makes you wonder too if as games are spaced out, if there's going to be some really good teams that have some very average records when you get into postseason because of the pitching depth and not being able to throw kids. There might be some teams that take some losses in some games that when they get to postseason are going to be kind of a hidden threat, So you can't take anybody for granted in Central Iowa. That's for sure. Just great teams around here.
It's unbelievable, game in and game out, just the talent and the depth that you see across Central Iowa. And the same thing is true certainly on the softball side. Brett, last year, Valley wins a state championship as the number 7 seed in Class 5A. The Tigers are going to be there with that program and what they have built throughout the years. Some of the other teams you expect to be up there in Class 5A as you look forward to the 2020 season.
Coach High said it, our start out with our 6-team conference, and then all those schools have put out the best quality softball, especially Central Iowa. Central Iowa produces some of, if not the best softball around the state. You got the Valleys, the Waukees, the Johnstons, Southeast Polk, Ankeny High, Urbandale that are going to be very good. And then you got that team up north of Fort Dodge who returns a lot of talent. And I know she's got them playing well. And there's some really good teams out on the eastern side of the state. Cedar Rapids, Kennedy, and Iowa City High return some players. And Centennial's got the talent to get there, and we're excited about it. And I know the girls believe that we're going to make that run at Fort Dodge, and hopefully we get that opportunity. And at this point, to be honest, we would put anybody out there on that dirt because we just want to play as quick as we can and as safe as we can. But no, the Central Iowa softball is the best around, and we're looking forward to that night in and night out competition from everybody.
We're all looking forward to that, no doubt. Coach Hay from the Ankeny Centennial baseball team. Coach Hay, always great to talk with you. Coach Delaney, thanks both of you guys so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trent. Thanks for all you do for baseball and softball in Central Iowa.
I absolutely love it, and fingers crossed we will have a 2020 season. That'll do it for CISN Inside Scoop. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back soon with more here on the Central Iowa Sports Network.